This podcast is part of E2C Network, where we share the whole Auburn experience. David Housel described it best. We are living the whole of the Auburn experience. You can quantify it, you can qualify it through a variety of methods of time, people, places, things, and experiences. But at its heart and at its core, it is all about Auburn sports, Auburn culture, and of course, the Auburn family. And if you need me to put it even on a more finer pin for you, if it's orange and blue, it's what we do. So thank you so much for joining in on us, with us on what we do today. Because we need family in here, we're going to get yourselves introduced here. My name is Kyle. If you haven't met me or known me before, back here for episode 104 and back in the saddle, if I remember to bring him on screen, my good friend and yours, Mr. Austin Scott. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you, War Eagle Kyle. War Eagle to our listeners. Hope everyone have a happy Thanksgiving. It's December 1st. If you're listening live or on the replay, you can know that's December 1st. And it's officially Christmas time, right?
It has been Christmas time, Austin. If you are
officially,
no, it is official. It has officially been Christmas season around here. And you know why it's officially Christmas season here now? Because Santa Auburn Santy Auburn is back here on the show. He made his appearance last year, and we're going to be getting more of that here on the E2C Network stuff. But he is back in session, so we are going to be celebrating the Christmas season around here in fine
Santa
fashion.
doesn't visit my house, so it's Bobby Claus. So
I know. Listen,
Claus.
Bobby Claus goes to some houses because Auburn Santa has to go and take care of everybody else. It's a big job.
Divide and conquer. It's a huge job.
It is a difficult but a pleasure for them to serve the Auburn family, and boy oh boy do we need it this year.
Amen.
It's been a wild ride in some aspects of the Auburn experience, but certainly we're going to dive into so many things in this show. But I want to start right here since we're already talking about it in Auburn Potpourri. It is the Christmas season officially, whether you're Mr. Scott and you can't really start it till after Thanksgiving, but it started for me the second Halloween was gone. Tell me a little bit about Auburn and the Christmas season. We get to talk to you about this every year because you are a resident of Auburn and you make us jealous every time. But you guys got to take part in some of the normal festivities that go around town. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was the kickoff to the Christmas season in Auburn, Alabama, and with the lighting of the tree and the menorah on Sanford Lawn. That is mainly a SGA or UPC event from Auburn University, run by students, and but Dr. Bobby Woodard, the VP for Student Affairs at Auburn, very well known individual, spoke about it tonight. Said this is really one of those unique connections you see where the city of Auburn and the university really come together and become one. That happens in Auburn a lot. And more so than other places, just because of the uniqueness of the town, the uniqueness of the Auburn experience. If you want me to plug the company line there, but I think that the lighting of the tree tonight was he was right. It's a very pivotal point of seeing that in evidence. So we had families out there. We were out there. There was tons of students out there. Aubie was out there counting down to lighting the tree, and it was a really cool event to see. That tree is up year round. It's always very interesting to me that you can go see the Auburn Lawn Christmas tree in March or July if you'd like to. It doesn't have ornaments on it.
I was going to say it's not nothing's on it during the rest of the time of the year. But
it's an odd shape. It's an odd shape. It's like kind of iffy, but it's a little iffy. It's always there, and it is now lit, and downtown Auburn looks mighty beautiful in Christmas lights, I must say.
It does. Yes, I am jealous that you get to experience that, and I love what you said about just another example of how Auburn, the city, Auburn, the school, Auburn, the culture, all intertwined together, and it's great that the students get to take part in that with the residents. That just kind of symbolizes all that and get the good, warm, fuzzy feelings, especially for the Christmas season, and glad that you got to experience that once again as a resident. Let's dive into some more news. We'll start talking about some more sports-related things here. We just had all the happy news, so we got to dive into some sad news. And no, I'm not talking about the game yet, folks. We're going to get there. But I do want to spend some time talking about this news that I was anticipating in some sense didn't know when, what year, all that stuff. But we have had a very senior member of the Auburn coaching staff tree or family across all the sports for quite some time. And we found out at the beginning of this last week that as of the end of the season, Coach Karen Hoppe will resign as Auburn soccer head coach and retire from the sport. So as it was written, as it was reported, as I understand to this point, this is her saying, I'm taking it easy, and I have done my due diligence, and I am heading to the house. And it is a very I don't want to call it a sad time, because to me it's such a complete career, and such a great body of work that Coach Stern. It is sad, yes, that we will no longer have her in the helm of Auburn soccer, because I have quite frankly enjoyed that. She has been very good to E2C Network, been very open, been very engaging, and I so much appreciate it. I hope we have that with the next head coach. But man, 26 years is coming to a completion for Coach Karen Hoppe, and sad to say that this is a reality now.
Yeah, it's really one of those kind of hard to believe things that you hear it and probably won't set in until we see another announcement of a head coach, or see even that coach on the sidelines next year. Right. But a icon with Auburn soccer, an icon in outside Auburn athletics. She went out with one of her very best teams, a big group of seniors. And so, like you said, not all that surprising in the sense of that this is her last stop and that she's going out on her own terms. But certainly a surprise in the sense of that it's a reality. And so it will be very weird to see someone else there. I would be shocked if Coach Karen Hoppe, I don't know anything, but I'd be shocked if she's not involved in some way with Auburn athletics. She has certainly earned the right for her opinions to be heard, I think. And she is the name when it comes to Auburn soccer. So I don't know, Kyle, do we name soccer pitches? Do we name soccer fields?
I don't know, but it feels like, not that there's anything wrong with the name, the Auburn Soccer Complex, but it feels like it's missing something, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
The Hoppe. Get to the Hoppe.
Get to the Hoppe. Get to the Hoppe. Get to the choppa. There is it right now. You know what? We're going to scream from the heavens to name it Get to the Hoppe or something like that. And that will make me so happy. There are some things that are just sitting right out there for you all, marketing team, and we're giving it to you again. So take it if you want it. We won't claim it. You can have it. I just want to be able to say Get to the Hoppe. Either way, what a great career. So glad that we have been able to, watch this and talk about this here on this show, on the network. My very first interview that I ever did with a head coach was with her. And so to me, I want to call it emotional, because I mean, it's not that so much, but it's just kind of like full circle that this is the time that this is actually going to happen. So we move on, and we thank Coach Hoppe for her 26 years as the head of the Auburn soccer program. Let's keep the somber news going and the exits news going. It is transfer portal season after all. Yes, we will talk about the game here in just a little bit on the show, but with the ending of Auburn football season, it is transfer portal time. And so some news has started breaking today, this Sunday, December 1st, that we are recording, of some people entering that portal. One of those being at the quarterback position. I don't think a really big shock. More so, it's the shock that it hadn't happened yet, because I really want Holden Gariner to find his success wherever that is. And I am commending him for sticking it out and staying with Auburn as long as he did, after not getting a whole lot of opportunities out there in the field. Now, granted, you go out there and earn them. There's nothing, given to anybody or taken away from it. It's all earned on merit. But he has entered the transfer portal, and will be going to find his next stop with 2 years of eligibility. I don't think this comes as a shock to most anybody, though, Austin.
No, Holden was a commit to Brian Harson's tenure. His quarterback that kind of looked like someone that would fit the system he wanted to put in. Like you said, I commend Holden for sticking around. I do believe with him I think he graduates this month. That gives him a degree from Auburn. So
that's the way you do it. That's the way you're supposed to do it.
That's the way you do it. It has been a bumpy road for a lot of people in the Auburn football team, but for Holden especially, he has had ups and downs. And so good for him for sticking it out. I hope he was able to learn something. I hope he leaves thinking of Auburn fondly, but really interested to see where he goes next. I think he can be very good at the right spot. Had a very good high school career in Savannah, Georgia. So would love to see where he goes next. And we appreciate his commitment and his time at Auburn.
Yeah, and with the year, the stat that was out there and has been out there for a time with second-year transfer portal quarterbacks, not always the case, but certainly a lot has shown success in their second year with 2 years of eligibility. He can get somewhere, kind of fight into the depth chart, maybe earn the starting job, get used to everything in that, maybe that second year really have a strong finish to his time as a college quarterback. So we're hoping for success for Holden, not at any Auburn expense, obviously, but certainly we appreciate the way he's exiting and thankful that he stuck it out with us this far. Same thing goes for this particular individual. It was announced today, I think, via some other media channels out there, officially from Micah Riley, tight end for Auburn, that he will be entering the transfer portal. And I'm going to be honest with you, where we talked about Holden, I'm not as shocked about that one. This one, I don't want to call it shocked, but I'm kind of interested about this one more than anything, because if you look at the tight end room, we're about to lose a ton of people. Luke Deal, Brandon Frazier, Rivaldo Fairweather. I mean, it's just wide open for anybody. So Micah Riley, I keep wanting to call him Micah Riley Ducker because that used to be his full name. He's gone. Thoughts on this, Austin?
Yeah, you're right. It is a little more perplexing. I think that it was also a Harsin commit, and it stuck it out. Had a little more playing time with special teams and some blocking.
And he caught a touchdown this year, did he not? I feel like
you're right.
Did.
Yes, he did from Hank in the New Mexico game. Yes, though Hank's very athletic. The
side
to the kind of corner.
Yep.
So yeah, just really, really interesting for him. But I think that's probably my guess is just a scheme difference in what Auburn's maybe looking for as a tight end. Him and Fairweather don't look quite the same as a person, or as an athlete. So we'll see what goes there. But I like that Micah, like you said, he addressed it himself and said, "Forever an Auburn man." That's all we want to see when folks leave this place, whether they're leaving earlier than we'd like them to or not. So appreciate his time. Hope he was able to find a love for Auburn, and I think Auburn fans certainly loved him back.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, it's kind of some of the final ones where we're talking about Holden or Micah, the Brian Harsin area. So not a big shock when some of those start to kind of move off after it becomes more entrenched in the new regime, the new scheme, all that kind of stuff. So obviously we wish the best for Michael Riley and hope that he finds the success that he is looking for.
That portal does open December 9th as well. So these are just plans to enter.
Sure.
Which you'll see. I'm not getting at Kyle or me or myself. You'll see thousands of people say they plan to enter the portal from now until December 9th and then well after. So we'll see. But until they are in the portal, it is not official. So
this is why you're here, for the boilerplate stuff, the stuff that needs to be said that Kyle doesn't get in trouble. Yes, these are reports, and certainly, obviously, be careful. These are the only things that have been confirmed through official sources, being them making statements, or official sources out there that have credibility. So there's going to see all kinds of reports, all kinds of rumors. Saddle up, folks. It's transfer portal season. So just as a final quick note, I'll just kind of run us through that. If you haven't looked, the softball schedule is up and available for you now. And I should recommend that you all do that, because we are entering the first year under Coach Malvo. I was going to say 2.0, but it's just part. What am I looking for?
I have no idea what you're trying to say. But
times two?
Yeah, we'll say times two. Coaches Malvo.
Coaches Malvo.
Coach Malvo's plural.
This is why our show is so weird, because we get stuck on tangents like this. Anyway, they're like, shut up and talk about this.
We're trying, coaches. It's new to all of us.
It's new to all of us. The schedule is now officially out there. If you want to take a look at it on Auburn's official website, we have known the conference schedule for a while. They got the non-conference now completely finalized. If you kind of look at it, you'll see a couple things that stuck out to me. It looks like Auburn's going to have some games at the very beginning of the non-conference schedule, and then at the very end of the non-conference schedule, they'll be going to Clearwater seems like we always go to Clearwater, Florida, to do some stuff for softball, but obviously going up to Madison for something that we've talked about previously, for an invitational of sorts up there. at the Trash Panda Stadium to do that. So we've talked about it in great detail. Just wanted to at least acknowledge that it is getting closer to that spring sports time. So if you are interested in what's happening with Auburn softball, what's going to be happening, certainly go out there and take a look at all those different things. More on that to come up in the future, because we're looking forward to talking about those times 2. All right, that's going to do it for Auburn Potpourri. Let's move into discussing our big topics this evening. Should we just go ahead and do it, Austin? Rip the Band-Aid off.
Rip the Band-Aid. Rip it off.
Rip it off. Let me just go ahead and say right here at the front, so no one can say that we're being sore losers, congratulations to the Alabama Crimson Tide for a hard-fought victory, and I do emphasize the fought part at certain times. But we are obviously very devastated with yet another Iron Bowl loss, this time in Tuscaloosa, 28-14. A lot has to be hashed out from this, I think. And while we're going to focus really on the game, I know most people want us to start moving on. There's still some stuff to unpack here and for us to break down here on this show. 28-14. Honestly, I'm kind of shocked that this score is not flip-flopped because of the way not only it started, but it carried on throughout the game. So before we maybe get into some of those things, your impressions, Austin, just general thoughts about Iron Bowl 89, I think is what this was.
I think that's correct. Yep, 89.
Thoughts on 89?
Yeah, definitely not the way Auburn people wanted it to go. I think that there was a lot of hope, maybe a little more optimistic than should have been after last week's big win against A&M. And Oklahoma's beating of Alabama at the same time. But I think that it is 5 straight years, and it is 14 straight years in Tuscaloosa, or 14 years since the last win in Tuscaloosa. Yep. So, it's very hard to win there. It is very hard to win in Auburn for this game. We that's been evidence, and some would have even call it haunted. So I think that you can see that there was a lot of optimism, and the thing everyone likes to say about rivalry games is you throw the records out. You don't worry about what's happened before. We saw that all weekend, right? With all the other rivalries,
such a good rivalry weekend.
Fights, and it was a great rivalry weekend. So. It's unfortunate. I think, like you said, with the turnovers, it blew my mind that we were +4 in turnovers at one point, and we're still down 2 touchdowns. That is not something you want to see very often. I think that you tend to hear post game of those kind of games from the losing team say, well, when you turn the ball over 4 or 5 times, no one's going to win. Auburn could not capitalize. Whether it be execution, decision making, play calling, whatever you want to say it, they could not capitalize on those turnovers. I think it ended up being +2 with the interceptions late.
Sure.
But it's unfortunate. I think no one's going to like me saying this, but I think you have to like the fight that you saw, especially from seniors and from guys who this game meant something to them, like Eugene Asante, Peyton Thorne. Jarquez Hunter. It stinks, and it's part of it, but I think I don't see how you don't see the gap might be closing between Auburn and Alabama than what we've seen over the last few years. So, that's not getting into the nitty gritty of the game. Kyle, I'll let you kind of get to that. But
yeah, I like what you said there. I think that's a great way to summarize what this game means. Certainly, each game, you throw out the record, right? Just to use the old phrase. But you can certainly take a wider view of the programs, the trajectories and stuff. And if you can't rationally, as an Auburn or Alabama fan, or even an outsider, and see that the gap is closing, you're just not a reasonable person. This is a game that Auburn, frankly, should have won. This is an Alabama team that is not as good as we thought they were. The old thing from the NFL coach, they are who we thought they were. They are not who we thought they were. You thought all of that. It just goes to show you can leave somebody a bunch of talent, and that doesn't mean that it's all going to come together. And granted, it's first-year head coach for Kalen DeBoer. Things got to take time, folks. Trust me, it takes time. We're living it right now. But I like what you said there, that the gap is closing. I do want the turnovers thing is very interesting to me. And I like what you said about if we are the losing team with that, stat 4-2, that's the reason you lost the game. It's not many times that you can say we won the game because we turned the ball over more. I don't know if there's a more encapsulating phrase or stat line or how narrative for Auburn season than that. Opportunities that were missed
Yep.
opportunities. And Auburn is missed opportunities away from being not only a bowl eligible team, not only an Iron Bowl winner, but potentially in the conversation for the college football playoff.
Absolutely.
Because the two games that probably had the widest margin of victory, and or at least throughout the game, were the Iron Bowl and Georgia. And frankly, the Iron Bowl was a lot closer than it seems at times. And you could probably make a case at certain points of the Georgia game leading into like the third quarter for that too. So it's just missed opportunities. Talking about the Iron Bowl, talking about the season, you can't turn the ball over that much and think that you're a really good football team. So if you're any Alabama fans, which there are out there trying to go beat their chest about this one, you beat your chest right away, because trust me, you ain't looking good by doing it, because that was not a good Alabama football team that walked. Very talented athletes, talented individuals, but not a good or disciplined football team. Let's use that as a little segue. How'd you feel about the chippiness out there?
Look, we talked about rivalry weekend on the whole sport part. There's chippiness, and I think there's chippiness that should be in rivalry games. Yep. I think that, we'll get to Coach Pearl and Maui, but he talked about, how student athletes still like to play for their university. And in this day and age when it can be so personalized about NIL and what I can get and who I am and not above the team, or at least that's a narrative around NCAA student athletes these days, to see a bunch of teams all over, a bunch of players all over the country take pride in their team and want to, whether they won or lost, want to defend their team well, I think is incredible. I think that should be a part of rivalry weekends. However, it cannot get insanely dirty and cheap shots and stupid stuff. There's chippiness. That's what makes these rivalry games the best. That's what makes the Iron Bowl the best. We live it every day. The chippiness doesn't go away. But I think when that translates on the field, it has to be a short memory of things. Like, there's no reason anybody should be trying to hurt anybody. There's no reason anything should really get past the white lines of the field. Whatever happened over there between Keandre Lambert-Smith and Devontae Smith of Alabama was blocking, and it was to the end of the whistle. And then some hothead came over and made it worse who has been a hothead all year for that team. It made it worse by getting involved with cheerleaders. And so I think that when you take that part of it and it what's the word? It overflows into people who aren't involved in that moment in the game. Yeah. I have an issue with it, but chippiness is part of rivalry games, right? Like that shows me that you are passionate about your team and your school. So I'm okay with it as long as we keep it within the confines. No one should be pepper sprayed. Let's just say that I still can't believe that.
Yeah, it was a very interesting week of rivalry games, and I think it made it more exciting. But yes, can I make a point to you? And this is going outside the Iron Bowl context. I think just keeping things, yes, I'm speaking about this week, but in trying to extrapolate a little bit. If anybody wanted to scream that the playoffs was going to ruin college football,
amen.
You just got proven wrong.
Amen.
Every games that had no bearing on the college football playoff mattered, because you're vying for, even if you're someone Auburn who's not going to make the college football playoff, no matter what happens, you're playing for a bowl game, but you're trying to ruin someone else's opportunity that they are fighting and clawing, trying to convince someone that they will get in. And listen, folks, Alabama's going to get in. Just go ahead and plan for it.
Come on, they're definitely getting in. Just
it's coming. But it makes things so much more real for more teams, and that's why I think that. Now back to the Auburn. Thanks. And now back to the Auburn Alabama side of things. Certainly on both sides, there are opportunities for growth and for being a better representation of yourself, of a university and stuff like that. And Alabama fans, if you're watching this, you can say I'm being orange and blue glasses all you want, but your team's got some discipline issues, some big ones, some very big, obvious ones as well. Malachi Moore, Not a good
Good
representative
grief.
of himself, of your school, well, of your fan base, yes. But
Hey, when your AD is having to run the kid off, but
yeah,
after the game,
you should be ashamed of him. He should be ashamed of himself. You should be ashamed. You should be ashamed of him. This is not just one incident. I can count the 4 in the game previous in the year where he pitched a childish fit, and it goes beyond him. But certainly, I think you see the standards, the discipline, all that stuff starting to slip away from the Alabama faithful, the Alabama leadership, and the character always gets revealed during hardship. Whereas the character of the collective, not of the individuals, obviously, there are always bad seeds for the team of Auburn, as you kind of so well put starting out our discussion, was revealed in the no quit, the valuing of this game, of this season. Not has so many Auburn fans have tried to say, well, what does it matter? Just go ahead and throw a quarterback out there for the future. It matters. Every single game matters, and they proved it out there. So I am so proud of every one of these guys on this team. I'm proud of the staff. I'm proud of those leaders out there that you named. I'm proud of Jarquez. I'm proud of Peyton Thorne for all that he was given this year and not given in terms of support, and went out there and put his body on the line and everything else that you could. He did everything that he gave everything. How about that? Was it successful all the time? No. Is he going to go down as one of the greatest Auburn quarterbacks of all time? No. He's probably not going to be in anybody's top 20 list, not top 30 list. But certainly, I'm not going to question his heart, his desire, and his love for the game, frankly, but how he continued to be out there in adversity. And I'll say that about Eugene. I'll say that about Keldrick, the young guys, all that kind of stuff. The last thing I want to discuss, and this is the probably point of interest from this game, we always point to a moment, don't we, in these games where you just go,
oh gosh, yeah.
You know what I'm about to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
A trick play. And trick plays, in and of themselves, if they work, you're a genius. If they don't, you're an idiot. So today we're talking about where you look like you're an idiot. And look, we love Coach Freeze and not calling him an idiot, but that's just the nature of trick plays right here. That decision to throw that to have Jarquez throw that.
It was a decision.
It was a decision. And folks, for those of you that say, oh, he needs to take ownership of that. He did, folks. You just don't want to hear it. He literally said, we should have coached Jarquez better in that situation to not throw that ball. He should have thrown it that way. Of course, then they'll say, well, now he's just blaming players, so he can't win no matter what. That trick play, man. What do you say about that? Like, I mean,
for me, more than anything, it's not so much of it being on Jarquez, it being on Peyton, it being like, it's just the timing. I think it was right after a turnover, I think, or pretty soon after a turnover.
Marching down the field.
You've got momentum. Peyton's played well enough. I don't think that was the right time to put that in. I think there's certainly an opportunity to have that in and remind Jarquez of those things right before it. And maybe they did. I'm not privy to those conversations. Probably wouldn't have understood them if I was. But I think that, it just wasn't, it was bad timing and really sucked it out of any momentum Auburn had to go in. I think that was 28-14 at that time. So it would have made a 1-score game if you capitalize on that. Like you said, we are supporters of Coach Freeze. I still think he is what's right for Auburn in this moment and at this program. I think he can take Auburn to good heights. I think that with all that said, it's still okay for me to say the decision-making from when to kick it, when not to kick it, the trick play, certain things throughout the game just make you scratch your head a little bit. But you live and you learn, and it's part of it. I think that, like we said, this game mattered because it always matters. But Auburn was also playing with house money in the sense of that they want to come in there and just mess it up, which they've known to do before. They've been known to do before. So, but the decision making of kicking and not kicking and the trick play is certainly valid and certainly one of those things that you can question. It's okay to do that.
It is, and it's the way you do it, not the act of
Absolutely.
question. I think people miss in that discussion sometimes. Just one more thing about that. that decision. Would you say a phrase very familiar to a certain fan base? Wrong place, wrong time
Oh,
for that
hello.
trick play. Yeah, I
Hello.
mean, I think it's appropriate. They might
As
understand wrong
as
place,
we
wrong time
usher into basketball season.
as we usher into the basketball season. But all that to be said, the Tide is victorious once again, 5 in a row. So certainly they're trying to throw some things back our way. Nice to know that you can't create your own original content and come up with better comebacks than that. But hey, there's always next year. And as we've been saying a lot this year, and I granted it's been a lot, get us while we're down. Because in a minute, you won't be able to.
Gonna be a fun off season. Fun off
season. And we got you in Jordan Hare. And we know how easy that's been for y'all the last couple of years. So we'll be looking forward to round 90 in Jordan Hare Stadium. All right, let's talk about basketball season. Football season is complete. We'll certainly talk about other aspects of football down the line. Basketball is the focus from this point forward, women's and men, but we're going to be talking about a men's topic today. I have been screaming from the heavens, Austin, how much I love college basketball, not preseason, but early season college basketball. It's a precursor to March Madness, in my opinion, and there is no more apropos example of that, in my opinion, these days than the Maui Invitational. The best college basketball teams, at least perception-wise, whether that be in name recognition, where they're going to in trajectory, tend to come here. And when I say that's not every single team, Kansas wasn't here, for example, but a lot of them are. Auburn was a part of that. Iowa State, Colorado, Dayton, North Carolina. So many names that are going to be very recognizable in the Maui Invitational. I had very optimistic views for myself personally, whether I was willing to say it publicly or not, about how we were going to perform in this, but it all hinged upon that first game. So as a brief summary before we dive into it, your Auburn Tigers, obviously, as you know by now, are the champions of the Maui Invitational, defeating the Iowa State. I almost said Hawkeyes, the Iowa
I almost
State.
did too. I literally was thinking in my head, Hawkeyes.
They're probably screaming right now. The Cyclones by the score of 83-81. The North Carolina Tar Heels cannot beat Bruce Pearl, apparently, as an Auburn head coach, 85-72. And then Memphis for the championship, 90-76. For the very first time, your Tigers are champions of the Maui Invitational, the best of the early season tournaments in college basketball every year. How excited were you? What's your thoughts? Are you just over the moon right now? Can I not even bring you back down to reality, Austin, about this team?
Well, I would be a lot more excited if you'd approved my PTO and expense report to go to Maui, but Kyle did not. That's why we weren't there, is because Kyle did not allow me to go on the company card. So you
could go on the company card. You might have to be dropped off.
I won't get very far.
I was about to say, you might get like 20 miles out over the Pacific, leaving LA, and then they're like, that's it. Sorry, you're swimming the rest
of the way. Kick him out. No, the tournament itself, we'll start there because you set it up so well. It's one I've always wanted to go to. I think it's just the fact that you're packing elite college basketball into a 2,400 person gym in literally a civic center in Maui is so awesome. It's just there is not an atmosphere like it, and especially when we play these dumb championships in NFL stadiums that don't make any sense. To have these games this early where people can go and it just blows the roof off is so awesome. And then for Auburn to be a part of it, it was the second time in Bruce's tenure. I think Auburn's been to Maui. First one was with the Jared Harper dunk. That's all anyone remembers from it, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I just loved it. I loved it. I know it was a pain for a lot of people, but the late night tips I think are so fun. You just build it up all day. You stay up. You're just with Auburn Twitter basically because they're the only other people up watching it, and it's just super fun. The atmosphere, and then when you play like as well as Auburn did, Janai Broome, obviously the MVP of the tournament. Janai Broome has established himself as an early season frontrunner to be the Naismith winner, the National Player of the Year winner, everything. He is the country is taking notice of Janai Broome. The country is taking notice of Auburn basketball. Just a really, really fun and really good performance by Auburn. I think the first night obviously was the closest game with Janai's tip in right before the buzzer, which was an Iowa State team that scared me about halfway through that game. Big
and
time.
rightfully so. And
rightfully so.
That's a good basketball team.
A very good basketball team, coached well and has elite guards. But from then on out, it just looked like Auburn was just going to boat race anybody that came their way. That ended up being North Carolina and Memphis, and just really impressive job. I think I was trying to think back to our predictions, Kyle. I think we both said Auburn would be 2-1 in Maui.
2-1.
2-1. So, going into the championship game, we're still both looking good, whether we win or lose.
Right.
But we our predictions have been kind of off so far in the offseason, and we're happy about that.
What are you doing? Don't find some wood.
No, we're
right
happy
now.
about that. But just an incredible performance. I love that Auburn basketball is the talk of the country because of their resume, because of what they've been doing. And they deserve it. And tomorrow morning, if you're listening live, we better be ranked number 1.
There we go. Now you'll get people fired up. I got to give a shout out to my sister-in-law, who is a graduate of Auburn and is an Auburn fan until it comes to Kansas basketball. I spent the entire weekend just throwing shot after shot at her and said, yeah, it's going to be nice when I wake up on Monday or whatever day it is and looking at number 1 basketball team. I wonder what that feels like, I mean, nobody else can say that. It's just, it's like burns her to the core.
Zingers,
that the fact that we're coming for that. And she tried to debate me and I said, do you have 2 top 5 wins this season? Oh, I didn't think so. So does that make you better than us? No. Not on paper. Anyway,
the resume cannot touch anyone else's right now.
Cannot deny the resume, my friends. That is the only thing we have to go on right now is the results, and the results say Auburn is the number 1 team. And if that is not the case, I'm calling shenanigans and tomfoolery, and you're getting.
Oh, there's going to be some voter that votes us like 18th or something.
You know who it is? It's going to be Joseph Goodman. That's who it's going to be. It's going to be Goodman. I said it.
Don't bring his name up.
I said it. I just said it. It's fine. It's going to be him because that's all he does is just, stir stuff up. And here I am giving his airtime again.
I cannot.
Anyway. Wow. What a performance. I think that Iowa State game, I don't know.
Gosh.
It was great to start that way, but everything else was not a disappointment. It was just kind of like a slow, progression down.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I don't know how you recreate that. I think we all kind of hoped in some regard that North Carolina was going to give a little bit more of a fight, and they did at times. But the Memphis one, I think we kind of all looked at that and said, that's a good coach. That's a program with some notoriety to it. So we can't really, walk into that expecting to win. But you overcame the toughest draw to start the tournament.
Yes.
What else are you supposed to expect from that point but a championship?
Oh, absolutely. And I think what's being a little bit overlooked is how well Auburn's defense did against the premier guys on these teams. Tyrese Hunter for Memphis had been lighting it up on everybody they'd played so far. And we're looking up somewhere after halftime, he hadn't scored. Their other guard was doing well, but if you silence one, then you're going to be doing all right. And so I think just and Bruce Pearl credits them all the time. It's not anything I'm doing that he's not already doing, but the staff of Chad Pruitt and Stephen Pearl and Mike Burgomaster, and I'm sure plenty behind the scenes that help.
Corey Williams,
they have it figured out. That is a full on elite staff that can dissect and prep this team better than anyone else. And on quick notice, we're playing every day for 3 days. And sometimes the North Carolina championship game was 12 hours, maybe, probably more than that, but just impressive job by the staff, impressive job by the players. There's so much veteran on this team that we keep seeing. I think it's going to help them out along the way. And they're going to go far because of it.
I like what you pointed out about the back-to-back nature of the games. Of course, you don't have back-to-back in March Madness, but you have a day break in between the two, the first 2 rounds, the second 2 rounds, all that stuff. But if you can be this successful defensively, especially after having the emotional rise and then potential letdown of that Iowa State game and still have the energy to drive to do what they did against those good programs, that's a really good sign for Auburn basketball. there are so many other, like, you could give credit to this person. That Chad Baker-Mazara, I think, deserves a lot of credit for the way that he played through some injuries. I screamed from the heavens on our own official E2C network.
I saw.
Please do not put Chad Baker in. I am so concerned about that knee, and I want him the rest of the year. But he had other ideas, and he just said, you know what? My knee doesn't matter. I'm giving it my all. And boy, did he show out in some stats. I think he was like pretty consistent, like, 15, 14, 16, 18, like whatever it was in the mid teens.
Should have been on the tournament team.
Should have been on the tournament team. And I think kind of very reflective of the early season SEC, all SEC situation. Janai at the top, obviously, and then him just on the outside looking in on that third team. People need to start taking notice of Chad. I get this, he's had some attitude issues in the past. He's acknowledged those. Bruce has acknowledged those. And there's been, I think, some growth there. Maybe a little bit too much growth at times, because I find him trying to keep other guys from getting into with other players. And I even saw Dylan one time. Dylan kind of got in somebody's face when there was a bit of a rough situation going on, and Chad comes over to him and starts like, all right, man. And then Dylan goes, all right, baby, I got it. And just slaps him on the butt and says, like, I'm good. And you guys like, all right, look, I know you've learned. Just let me do me for a second. But we can't get away without our discussion here of fully acknowledging one Janai Broome.
Oh,
is he the greatest? No, that's Michael Jordan. Sorry, I'm going to stir that debate up. Ooh. Is he the best Auburn basketball player in quite some time? And the more important question, is he the best player in college basketball this year so far?
Yes and yes. I think that Jabari and Walker are right up there. I think they're just different skill sets, right? Like Walker, just immensely tall, blocking shots left and right. That kind of got him noticed. He could score, but the blocking shots got Miss Jabari, all around player, more of the athletic guard / forward combo type. But Janai has just a skill about him where he knows his body and he knows what to do with it. He knows he's not the tallest one out there. He's very tall, but he's not the tallest one out there.
Right.
He knows his footwork is important and his vision of the court is second to none. So he's filling up the stat sheet, and he is the veteran player Auburn needs. I think a lot of that feedback from pros over the last 2 years has helped him a lot. But he is coming to work and dominating each day for Auburn. And that is impressive, that the fact that is consistent and that he's been able to do it at a high level is incredible. So I am very looking forward to seeing him in the future tough matchups coming up very, very soon. Kyle also did not approve my expense report for that one. But I'm very looking forward to seeing Janai Broome play.
There is no expense report for that because the expense can't exist. Because if that somehow expense comes across my desk, we don't exist anymore. Have you seen those ticket prices? That's ridiculous. Janai Broome is your MVP for the tournament. He is your MVP of this Auburn team thus far. And not that that's any shock to anybody. And folks, anybody out there that wants to make a case that thus far this season, anybody else has a better case for player of the year than Janai Broome. We're just talking about it within the context of what's played thus far. You are out of your mind. Janai Broome is the best player in college basketball to this point in the season, and I will stand on that and fight anybody that tries to say otherwise. Maui Invitational. I looked forward to it. It's done. Champs. I'm sad about it, but champs, baby. Auburn will forever be on that banner up there in that Civic Center in this so important, so iconic tournament of early non-conference play. And what a great another benchmark, another check mark in the legacy of one Coach Bruce Pearl as Auburn's basketball coach. That's going to do it for episode 104 of our podcast. Thanks for sticking around with us to talk about so many good and bad things, but that's all part of the Auburn experience. We appreciate you being here as we move into the holiday season. One final question or just request from you. We'd love to know from you. What are you getting for Christmas this season that's Auburn related? What are you asking for? And for those of you that want to be annoying and do the stereotypical, I want a better football team, just stop it. Just go home. Just go home. We don't want any of that here. We're asking seriously, what are you wanting for Christmas? Like what shirts, what things? Do you want a Santa Obby or anything like that? I mean, come on, the Obby or Santa, Auburn Santa. Last time I checked, Albie doesn't look like that.
Can confirm.
Can confirm. Bubby does not look like that, as your
Bobby.
boys say.
Bobby.
Let us know. We want to hear from you. What are you hoping to get this year for
What do you want,
Christmas?
Kyle? What do you want?
What do I want? You know what I want? I want peace and happiness amongst the Auburn
you said
family.
this last year.
I get to say it. Nobody else gets to say it. I'm looking for some other Auburn sports T-shirts that I don't have yet. I've given my family that list. So we'll talk about that coming up a little bit more in future episodes. Keep up with me on X at Kyle Loomis 24. Where can they find you, sir?
Yeah, on X at Austin G. Scott. And hope everyone had a happy Thanksgiving. And get ready, folks. It's Christmas time.
It's Christmas time. It's basketball season. Still plenty to talk about in the Auburn experience. War Eagle.
War Eagle.